Hey everybody, welcome back to Flex Volleyball. In this video, we are going to talk about the 4-2 offensive lineup. Okay, so here we have our lineup. So this is what we would put onto our lineup sheet when we turn it into the R2 or the score table. So we have right side number 1 in the front row, middle number 1, outside number 1, and then here we have right side number 2, middle number 2, and outside number 2. Okay, so it goes in this order right here. Right side, outside, middle, right side, outside, middle. So the 4-2 is basically the opposite of a 6-2. So with a 6-2, we always have the right side player in the back row setting the ball. So they always get the second contact. In a 4-2, we're actually going to have the front row right side player as the setter. So this is going to be an easier lineup for a beginner team. There's not going to be as many moving components, and it's a little bit simpler and easier for them to understand. Okay, so if we were serving the ball, we would have the right side player coming off to serve, and then we would just do our pretty normal switch here. Okay, ball is contacted, the outside and the right side would then switch over to their designated positions. We would play the ball out, ball comes over, and now we have this player setting to the middle and outside. So in a 4-2, you're going to have 2 front row attackers all the time, 3 back row attackers all the time, and then that right side position is always going to be setting or an attack option to actually dump the ball. Okay, now let's go into receiving a serve. Okay, so in this, we don't really have to hide anybody or stack anybody in the back row because the front row player is going to be the setter. So we have our 3 primary passers. These 2 players are going to come off. The setter is going to come up here close to the net. Let me actually switch that there. So they are the setter right there. Ignore the 2 on that because this is setter number 1. So the ball is served. So on contact, this player would move over. Now at this point, you can either have a right side player and a middle player attacking, or you can actually have them do a switch here real quick so that you do have an outside player. The simplest thing to do would just be to keep these 2 players right where they are and set a C or a middle. And then next would be to have this person transition over. And then the most difficult part would be if you wanted to transition like this. So depending on the skill level of that setter, you may want to change this up right there. So ball is served, contact, we run our attack option, and then go into our home positions and continue playing defense there. All right, now we are in rotation 2. So our outside number 1 should be our server. So let's take them off. So what we'll do is we'll have that middle player come right up into the middle onto the net. The ball is served on contact. That right side player will come to the right side. Ball comes back over. We play it out. And then we have our middle and outside attack options. Okay, now if we are receiving a ball, we can do something like this, and then we'd have a C or a right side attack and an outside attack, or we can, on serve, that middle can transition over here, and then we can run a middle and outside attack there. So depending, again, on your setter's skill, you can do this, which is the simpler thing to do, or you can have them transition here during the serve. So then we would do our attacks, boom, and then we are in position again to run defense and play the ball. All right, so now we are in rotation 3. So middle number 1 would be off, so rotation 3 right here. And we already have our right side player in the position we want, so we're good there. And then we can have our middle stack up onto the net. Ball is contacted, and we can then switch over and get into those positions there. Then that player comes on, play our defense, 2 players come off, run our attack options, and continue on from there. When we are receiving the serve, these two players would just drop off just a little bit. 3 primary passers here. Ball is served. We run our attack. Ball goes over, and then we do our switch here, and then continue to play. Now, after this, we would go into rotation 4, and then it repeats the same thing that we did in rotation 1, 2, and 3. So now we are in rotation 4, and this front right side player becomes the setter, and then we would just repeat exactly what we did in rotation 1, 2, and 3. So if we are running a 4-2, there's 2 different main ways that we can do it. We can have designated positions. So that's going to be the more advanced and typically what you want to progress into. But if you still have a really basic beginner team where they don't have a whole lot of volleyball knowledge, a lot of this can be very confusing. So what we can do is with the 4-2, the right side front player is the only one that we need to try to switch and get into a home base position. Okay, so if we were receiving a ball here, we would do our switch, run our attacks, and then we want to get the right side over to the right side. So we would just move everybody over. So these 2 players wouldn't actually be doing any switching. They would stay in their, rotation order. So outside middle, they're still in that rotation. And then the back row you would keep in that position too. They wouldn't do any switching either. So this would simplify it and make it easier for the players in transition so that they're not running into each other and getting confused and, misunderstanding where they're supposed to be. So that would be the simpler way to do it. The other way, the more advanced way, like I said, would be to have everyone designated with their position. We run our attack, and then we do the entire switch. Oh, nope, they're already in their positions. Okay, and then everyone would go to their home position. So if you are having designated positions, you can still use the 4-2. Or if you're just wanting to play kind of like a basic rotation where everybody kind of plays multiple spots and they just stay in the rotation they're in, then you can still use that and just focus on getting this right side player to the right side of the court in the front row. So pretty simple, and it's very easy for those beginner players to understand. And we are also starting to implement actual position play versus playing continued rotation play. Now, typically the 4-2 is going to be used for a beginner team when they're still learning the process of volleyball. They're learning the rotations, they're learning how to transition, get to home base, things like that. But that doesn't mean that you can't use this for an advanced, skilled team. So when would this be a good option for you, either as a team or as a coach, to utilize this for a very skilled team? Okay, I've had teams where I've had 2 setters. One was a left-handed setter, and they were both tall enough, or I shouldn't say tall enough, they were just as tall and could get just as high as my middle or my outside attack. So I would have them run in the front row as the setter so that we would have that second contact attack option for them. So they could either dump, or actually with that left-handed setter, they could get a full approach and do a full attack on a second contact. So here, as an example, so what we'd do is, say they were sending a free ball over, we'd play it. I would actually have my setter right here. We'd pass the ball right here, and that setter would actually do a full-on approach and attack the ball on the second contact. So what that's going to do is the defense, they may still be setting up, because if they sent a free ball over, they probably got out of system and they had to reset and get the ball over the net. So they may still be getting things in order over here and transitioning and getting ready to play defense, but then we're attacking already. So that's going to put them on their heels, and it's going to make it difficult for them to set up a good play right after that. Okay, so that may be a good option for you. It'd be similar if you've ever run a 5-1. When you have that setter playing in the front row, they're able to attack, they're able to jump, they're able to dump, and if you've ever played defense against a team that is running a 5-1, or if you come across a 4-2, you know that it makes it a little bit more difficult, not just a little bit, it makes it very difficult to figure out what is going to happen with this player. Is it going to be an attack from the setter, or is it going to be attack from one of these players? Okay, so just because this primarily is used for a beginner team, it doesn't mean that it can't effectively be used with a very competitive, skilled team. So just kind of keep it in your toolbox. And sometimes it may come up where you're like, I have a really good left-handed setter. Both my setters are tall. They're really good attack options for the front row. Let's go ahead and utilize that. Okay. It does also open things up where you can run that slide a lot more. And the slide is a difficult attack to, defend. It is a very good attack for that middle. And then it allows you to run different attack options that can confuse the defense. So just because you don't have that right side attack doesn't mean you don't have a right side attack. Okay, because first, this player is still an attack option, and then you can still run the slide. You can run a 3 here, you can run a 2, or you can just have them do a complete shift and do a 1, an A. I mean, there's a bunch of options. So don't think that this can't be used for that advanced team. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, don't forget, be powerful, be consistent, be safe, and above all else, stay out of that net.